We're safely tucked away in Cala, Canyelles, waiting out some heavy weather before continuing our journey. Remember that faulty autopilot that quit on us during our first passage? Well, Flo has been trying to order a new one, while I've been debating whether we should just crack it open and see if there's a way to fix it. So, let's take a closer look at this old Autohelm 2000 and find out if we can bring it back to life and save a bunch of money.
So, here it says, I have an old A2000 tiller pilot, the one consisting of a cylindrical tiller actuator and a separate pot, which I assume is that one. So I think this is the one. It says, prise off the Autohelm logo in the center of the knob, which is that guy. Do you see screws? Yeah, there's a screw.
With the logo,
Nice.
the non-existing logo.
Here it says, under you will find 2 screws holding the tub together.
Well, it's one.
I
but
see
it's
one,
a
but
start.
at least it's something. In order to remove the circuit boards, you also need to unscrew the jack socket for the wind vane.
I'm quite good at opening things. I'm just terrible at putting it back together.
Well, it's the autopilot. We put it back on, and the lights were flashing. It worked for a bit, then went off, went back on again.
It looks like the issue was a bad connection between those 3 little arms on the circuit board and the cylinder that sets the course. After some fiddling, it seems to be working again, and we'll put it to the test on our next leg to Lloret de Mar and see if this quick fix holds up. The weather is starting to shift. The wind is picking up and the sky is turning dark and gloomy. Perfect conditions to buckle down and get some work done. It's always easier to stay focused on the computer when the outside world isn't calling for adventure. But hey, let's be honest, a grey sky can drag the mood down pretty quickly. That's why a good meal is the ultimate morale booster on days like this.
Special request by the captain. So this is how this went. This morning I was editing and I was saying to Flo, hey, so what are we gonna have for breakfast? Meaning, like, what are you gonna make us for breakfast? And he's like, I'm not sure. How about you make some pancakes?
Worked out.
I'm not sure how that went from me getting breakfast to actually making breakfast. And like, breakfast that takes a long time. I think those are the first gusts. They're coming!
I'm a bit anxious.
The boat is definitely heeling over.
Outside our little nook, the wind was howling and we could see big swell building in the distance. But in our bay, the gusts never pushed past the upper 20s, keeping us well sheltered. After a couple of days of waiting it out, we were finally ready to lift anchor and hop over to the nearby bay, Lloret de Mar. The swell from the storm was still rolling through, but with the sun shining again and the autopilot working under load, we were feeling relieved and ready to keep moving. We're in Lloret de Mar. It's one bay over from Cala Canyelles, where we were before. We've had 2-3 days of pretty shitty weather. We were letting a pretty big low pass over us. There was crazy strong winds in the Mediterranean, like gusting in the 50s. Where we were, it was pretty sheltered. It was kind of gusty, but the wind mostly blew over the boat, and I don't think we had more than upper 20s at times. Maybe Flo saw 30 once, but I didn't. It was rainy, it was grey, it was pretty rolly. We were actually sheltered from the main wave direction, but still it wrapped around the corner. And today we decided to move one bay over. It's just, I think, 2 miles or 1.5 miles here to Lloret de Mar. We just mowed it over here because we're running out of groceries. And as you can see, the weather is pretty lovely again. Summer is back and we're just on a really beautiful hike. The first part of the hike was on the main road, which wasn't so great, but then after maybe 15 minutes, it started to become like a gravel road, and there was a little statue, like an angel statue, that was currently missing its wings because I think they're under maintenance. And then after the statue, the path went more into the forest, and it was so far a really beautiful hike. And the dogs are just loving it. They're pacing around. Boga just was pacing a little bit too much. That's why she's on the leash, the punishment leash. But yeah, it's really great that the dogs have so much space to run around and romp in the wilderness. I think we're all happy campers. And if the weather stays as forecasted, then we're probably going to do a 2-night passage over to the Balearic Islands, to Ibiza. And then there's going to be another shit show of weather going on, a longer one. That's why we decided that we wanted to go to a different place. So we have a change of scenery for the next shitty weather to pass by. But more about that next time.